So in this video, I'm going to go through my process of how I figured out and established exactly who my ICP is, who my niche is, who I should be focusing on when it comes down to providing and offering a service, right? And I've been looking forward to recording this video because, the process of figuring out your niche and ultimately your ICP is an interesting one. It takes a bit of time, and it took me quite a long time, to be fair. And I'll get into the why later in the video. But in the meantime, if you are subscribed, then I hope that this video helps, because it's something that I thought, if I've been going through this myself, then hopefully if you are watching this and it's something that you also resonate with and something that you also are looking to resolve as well. And for those who are not subscribed, welcome. My name is Tariq Peters. I am a brand authority strategist and I'm also an accredited PR practitioner. I've been in the industry for a decade now, and I work with fractional CFOs and independent finance leaders to help them build a level of brand authority. And brand authority for me is your personal brand multiplied by your business brand multiplied by your campaign brand. And when those three brands align, that gives you a level of brand authority that makes you more visible and credible to your desired target audience. And then once that's done, then you're able to drive more leads into your business. You're able to convert those leads into clients and ultimately more revenue for your business. So if you are interested in all things branding, marketing, and PR, then please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And also click in the description box down below if you are interested in checking out my Substack. And also if you are interested in having a conversation with me to let you know how I can help you in order to build your level of brand authority as well. So for this video, I'll be covering the S.T.A.R.T method, which is a method that I produced that helped me to establish exactly who my ICP is and to be very forthcoming with understanding the messaging and the angles in the way that I produce content in a way that I'm able to attract my ICP. And for me, to be quite honest and forthcoming in this video, the whole idea of niching and establishing my ICP was a very, very difficult road for me. And the reason why I say that is because I've been in the PR industry for a decade, right? And within that decade, I've worked agency side all my life, which means that I've worked across all various different industries, whether it comes down to fintech, whether it comes down to financial services, professional services, whether it comes down to government departments, construction. I've done a lot of work in various different fields, also healthcare as well. How can I forget? But the point that I'm making is that because I've spent so much time working across various different industries, it was never a thing where I had to figure out, okay, I need to focus on one ideally. I sort of consider myself a jack of all trades, right? There's many things that I tend to do, and it's helped me a lot in the process. But at the same time, I would say that it harmed a lot of the approach of growing and developing, because ultimately the way I positioned myself previously was I could do a lot of things, but I didn't have a process, or I didn't necessarily have that particular person in mind that I'm looking to focus on in order to provide those services for, because I spent a long time working with so many different industries. So for me, it just felt that I could naturally gravitate towards anyone and everyone, which is very much true. But then I recently realized as well that if you get in the process of you focusing on everyone, you're never going to be able to capture the specific person that you would need in order for you to continue to build and grow your business. So through this, I hope that it helps as well. And for me, it's helped so much in terms of that. And it's also something that I've embedded within my system in terms of helping people also establish how they're able to build not only their brand, not only their personal brand or their business brand, but also understanding from a business perspective how they are able to develop and understand who their niche and their ICP is, so they can develop their strategy or building their brand to attract them as well. So before we even get started, please like the video, please subscribe, and if you have any questions or if you think that this video is useful as I go through the video, then please make sure that you comment, and let's just get straight into it, right? Let's go. So the S.T.A.R.T method, right? So for me, it's about building that market fit before authority. And that is something that is incredibly important. A lot of the time, we tend to focus on the idea of brand authority. We want to build our personal brand, we want to build our business brand, we want to develop a campaign that allows both of them to work simultaneously. But in some cases, a lot of people they miss that market fit. They spend too much time saying that they can work with everyone, which is rightfully true in some aspects. But your ICP, as you know it, doesn't know that you are looking for them, and they don't know that they are also looking for you. So it's in your best interest to really take that time to really focus and establish who is it that is best suited to work with you. And I'm going to go through the process of how I figured it out for myself and also how you can do it for yourself as well. So if we get started and go through it. So the START method is the structured market fit system that comes before the phases brand authority system. So you know my phases brand authority system. If you watch my content, then you know it well. That is my framework and my methodology that I use to help my ICP develop a level of brand authority to be more visible and credible, as mentioned, right? And then through that, you realize that authority cannot compound without relevance. And before visibility, positioning, or campaigns, the market must be clearly defined and commercially validated, which means that you need to validate your offer, and not only your offer, but you need to validate that the people will actually buy your offer. They will actually want to immerse themselves in your ecosystem, as mentioned, but they will also want to be in a position where they'll actually purchase from you as well. So that's important. So if we go through the start method as well, and I'm going to go through each one by one as well. So please stay with me as well, because I guarantee that by the end of this video, you will know exactly what you need in order to continue to build your brand, but then to also build your business brand in a way that can attract your clients as well. And you can effectively develop content that can be a magnet for your ICP. So first and foremost, we have strengths. So that is being able to identify your commercial edge, right? And before I even continue on that, that is something that I had to really pinpoint as something that I needed to focus on myself. I always state the importance of understanding your strengths as well and to double down on your strengths. And even more so, when you are looking to convert your strengths into an actual offer as well, you need to then think who lines up with all those things that you have that they would want from you, right? Which is incredibly important. So it clarifies the capabilities that solve meaningful, high value problems. So, with that, this includes your core expertise, your proven experience that you have, your strategic insight, systems you've built, results you've delivered, and credibility signals. So for me, a lot of it comes down to my experiences in PR. I got a decade of experience. I got skin in the game as far as PR goes, alongside the aspects of marketing. And then through the love of branding and being able to develop my brand and showcase my brand as well, that's when I realized that the problem is that a lot of people are building personal brands, but they're not allowing themselves to build that business brand that can convert that attention into revenue. And that's where I saw the missing piece when it comes down to the idea of building your brand. And that's when I realized that with my experiences in PR, that is a strong aspect of my background and my skills and my skill set. So with that, merging with the idea of marketing as well, which I have experience and being able to create a hybrid approach based on the phases brand authority system, that was a way for me to really demonstrate my strengths. And not only to demonstrate my strengths, but to put all of my strengths into an actual system, right, that I could actually work with and create as a system that I work with throughout myself and my clients in real time as well. So with that in mind, the objective is not to list skills, right? It is to define what you can solve and better than most, right? So you want to be in a position where your strengths, you lead on your strengths and you really highlight your strengths as something that this is your go-to. You can effectively do this in your sleep. And with you really emphasizing that through your content and through meeting new people, you then understand, okay, where am I best placed in terms of being able to work with people who actually require these strengths, the strengths that they may not necessarily have themselves because they have strengths in other areas of their lives, right? So you need to bear that in mind. And with that, the key question that I'm going to ask you which I want you to think about before we move on to the next part, is what commercial problems are you structurally equipped to solve, right? What commercial problems are you structurally equipped to solve? So think about that and then we can move on. So the first one is strengths, right? That's the first part of the START method. And then secondly, we have the tribe, right? And then with the tribe, this is really important because for me, this really highlights the element of your ICP. Who are you working with, right? Why are you working with them? How do you know what their pain points are? How do you know what they're struggling with? Do you know that much about them where you are able to be immersed in their world and ultimately be able to produce content where you produce content and they read it and they think that you read their mind literally? That is the process of what you do when you want to develop your tribe, which is the second part of the start method. So it's about defining the specific market and identifying the precise group most likely to value and pay for your strengths. So now you've established your strengths, right? Now you then need to think who is most likely to value and pay for your strengths. And then through that, we have to think not broad industries, not generic job titles. We need to be specific and we need to focus on the ones that are economically viable as tribes. And for me, that did take a lot of homework, to be fair, if I'm being honest with you. It took a lot of homework and it took a lot of understanding. And then when I realized, in the grand scheme of things, where my strengths lie is in order of people becoming more visible and credible through the efforts of PR and marketing and being able to build their brand. But then through that, I then realized that the elements of the idea of building your brand is to get more opportunity, to get more revenue, to get more leads. And then I then realized that a lot of the sort of prospects that would need my services the most are the ones that are heavily reliant on referrals. They're relying on the idea of introductions and people being able to help them in the process rather than developing their own predictable inbound system that allows them to get more opportunity based on building their brand and building their credibility of the back of the PR and being able to develop effective campaigns and channels and funnels through their marketing efforts that will get people through your ecosystem to the point where they want to buy from you. So once I realized that, then that changed a lot for me in terms of my approach of understanding where I am best suited. So with that, I had a couple of examples as well. So when you think of that, you want to be as specific as possible, ideally, when it comes down to it, because it helps you to then be able to find those people yourself. So an example would be corporate CFOs transitioning into fractional careers, right? Or founder-led M&A advisory boutiques competing for mid-market visibility, or regulatory compliance consultancies facing pricing pressure, or strategy consultancies plateaued at 3 million to 5 million revenue. It can be anything, but the more narrow you are with your tribe, the faster the authority compounds. And it could be for anything. You could be a graphic designer, right? But then you want to think, who do you want to be a graphic designer for? And then you could be like, okay, I want to be a graphic designer for legal professionals in a company size of 1 to 10, for example. And then you know that you have solidified yourself as a go-to graphic designer within that particular realm and that world. And then when you've established yourself like that and you start to build in the process of that, you can move on to the next stage of things. But then you have to get to that stage to then understand how you can continue to build your brand in a way that will be able to attract them. So, like I said, the more narrow the tribe, the faster the authority compounds. And then the key question I have for you for this one is, who is the highest fit buyer for your strengths, right? And then you have to think of it like, who are the ones who are more than likely to have the budget in place to be able to pay for your services? Because not only do they realize that you have the strengths that they require in order for them to build and to grow and to develop and to scale, but then you also realize that you have now pinpointed them within your tribe. You've established them now as the tribe that you will be focusing on for the foreseeable future when it comes down to developing content for or messaging for, or your whether or connecting with them directly. So it's in your best interest to also consider that. So if this is useful so far, please like the video, please subscribe. And if you like this form of video, let me know, because I'm more than happy to do a lot more of these videos, just going through various different frameworks, methodologies, and experiences that I've turned into systems, right? So let's go next. A is for agitations, right? So that's the third part. So we have the strengths, right? We figured out what our strengths are, what we can provide in the market. Then we focused on the tribe, actually pinpointing who it is that we will be working with. And then now A is the agitations. So now that we have the idea of who we want to work with, we want to think about what is upsetting them, what is making them angry, what is making them feel that they need support and help, right? So it's to identify commercial friction. So being able to do that, you're able to surface the recurring frustrations, bottlenecks, and risk the tribe urgently wants resolved, right? So that can be in the form of many different agitations or pain points. A lot of people will have various different pain points, but once you start establishing a common thread or a common theme that your tribe has when it comes down to potential issues or particular bottlenecks they have within not only themselves but their business as it stands, then you are then able to then reaffirm why you are able to help them even more. So as you can see, the examples that I've included was the idea that it can be inconsistent pipeline, perhaps, referral dependency, weak market positioning, slow sales cycle, price pressure, or lack of authority differentiation. So those are the things that you need to consider when it comes down to that. And then the more that you do your due diligence and you do what's necessary to learn more about your tribe and your ICP and your niche, the more you're able to have a clear understanding of their agitation. So when you speak with them, they are able to relate and they're able to resonate and they're able to share a lot more because you are able to speak effectively for them and let them know that you feel their sort of pain points and their agitations. So with that, authority grows fastest where agitation is strongest. And the key question for this is, what is creating immediate commercial pressure? What is it? Is it the fact that they lack referrals? Are they not putting their prices up with the way it needs to be? What is that main thing that you need to consider that is agitating them the most? And effectively, the more that is agitating them and the more that is effectively being a pain, you need to be that person that is the painkiller, and you have an offer and you're able to present that in a way that resolves their pain, right? You need to remember this is important. So we have that. We have the strengths, we have the tribe, we have the agitations. And you could potentially guess what R is, right? But we can go and let's see what R is. So R is research. So of course, you know what your strengths are, you know who you are targeting now, you know what their pain points are, their agitations, the things that annoy them the most. Now you do dig a deeper and you do bigger research in the process of where they are, where they're located. You want to validate this with now market research, and now you want to find all the things that validates all the things that you've been doing the research for, right? So with that, you want to replace assumption with proof now. You want to confirm that everything that I have been looking into with the research, I now need to validate that this is actually factual and these are the things that people need from me. So I'm able to provide a service and an offering that can help them in the process. So with that, you want to conduct structured market listening or social listening in that case. And that can be done through various ways. And I'm going to showcase a few of them now. So it can be done through client conversations, right? And even if it's a case where you don't particularly have the client as of yet, reach out to people within that ICP, within that tribe, and ask to have a chat with them. Just a 15-minute coffee chat, or whatever the case, just to have a chat to let them ask them questions about how they're getting on within their world and their ecosystem, right? Sales calls. Once you get in the process of doing more sales calls with your ICP, the more you understand more about them, you get an understanding of their pain points. You get the opportunity to ask direct questions to see where you are best placed to help. LinkedIn discussions, industry forums, surveys, comment sections, peer groups, and reviews. Reddit for me has been a gold mine in terms of being able to do additional research into my ICP and to speak with more people directly, and also get them on calls where I'm able to do more surveys and research to validate and verify the particular issues as it stands, which is incredibly important. So I'll say you definitely need to do that. And then the idea is to look for language patterns, repeated frustrations, and decision triggers. And the goal at this stage is clarity on what you are doing, not just simple opinion, but how you are able to refer back to all the points that were made. And you're able to then validate that as market research that is actually essential and factual to what you have discovered. And I'm going to give you a additional tip, right? If you made it this far, I just want to reaffirm that once you've done this research, 'cause I've done research like this myself through the method, you can then use tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, to then develop a actual tool that will allow you to then develop that into a system that allows you to then put into where you can produce content and messaging that aligns with all the pain points of your ICP, their dreams, their desired outcome, all the things that you have done through your research. You can then develop as a handbook or a guide that can then lead you into more opportunity, because you are then developing the sort of intellectual hub of what it means to focus on your ICP in a way that you're doing the thorough research. And like I said, the more market research you're doing and the more you're able to validate, the more you are able to then reaffirm that and put that into the system that then effectively speaks for you alongside what you are offering as a service that aligns with your methodology as well. So that is something that I would 100% guarantee you should do in terms of getting those desired results as well. So the key question for that is, what evidence confirms demand? And that's where you want to get to. When you get to a point where the evidence confirms that this is something that is required and something that would make a lot more sense, then you can move forward in the process, knowing that it's a comfortable decision that you've made off the back of facts rather than it be a case of opinion. So, next and lastly, right? So we covered the strengths, right? We covered the strengths, we covered the tribes, we covered the agitations, we covered the research. And lastly, we have targeting. So with targeting, we want to deploy where attention exists, right? And with that, we want to determine where the tribe already gathers and consumes authority. Where do they live, right? Where do they spend the most of their time either looking to build their own level of authority, or they're immersed in other influential people that they're looking at as another source of authority that they are acknowledging for their work ethic and what they do, right? That part is really interesting and incredibly important. And if you have not watched my video on how to develop your map ecosystem, right, of your ICP, I would 100% guarantee you watch that, because that breaks this down even further in terms of how you are able to then develop a whole list of various different ideas and topics and publications and outlets, all the things that align with the world of your ICP is you building on that particular part. And this is what it covers now with targeting. So the examples of this will be LinkedIn, right? You can do the targeting and see who is influential on LinkedIn, what groups are well established within your sort of ICP or your niche, right? Industry events. What events are you attending? What events are you going to meet your ICP in person, to have that one-to-one human connection to learn more about them, right? That part is important. I went to Account Text the other day actually, and it was a great opportunity to be immersed in the world of my ICP and to learn. And I always say, at this moment when you are building your brand, but also looking to establish a business brand with it as well, you want to be a chameleon, right? When I say a chameleon, you want to be in a position where you are immersed in the world of your ICP and you somewhat blend in and you become one of them in the aspects of learning more about their pain points, their dream outcomes, things that are happening within their industry, like real prominent things that you should be aware of, because it's something that you can refer back to when you are having conversations with them, or whether you're doing client work for them, or whether you are actually selling your services to them. You need to be in the know. It's incredibly important. So through that, niche newsletters, professional associations, podcasts, partnerships, private communities. Those are only some elements. There's so much you can go into it. If you would like me to develop, or matter of fact, because I have an ecosystem map for my ICP as well. So if you would like me to share the template with you, then let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to share that template with you where you'll be able to see and you'll be able to list it out yourself and build out your own ICP ecosystem map based on what I've done for my ICP, right? So the key question for this is, where does the market already pay attention? And when you figure that out, and like in all sayings, you go where the money goes, right? Or you follow the money, or all the various aspects of that. But you want to go and establish, what does the market pay attention to already? And that's where you go and that's where you establish yourself. And even better, if you are in a position where you understand how you are able to then align with various different podcasts or publications that your ICP reads or listens to or watches or is immersed in, if you figure out a way to PR yourself to be presented in those places that your ICP is involved in, that is also a way for you to develop your credibility within that space, for you to continue to position yourself as not only a key person of influence, but an obvious choice within their world, because you have now played your part in showcasing your expertise in a way that aligns with your ICP. So that's another tip that I would definitely recommend that you look into. And with that, the key question is, where does, yeah, we covered this already actually. So the outcome of the START method, right? So when executed correctly, it produces a clear market fit, sharper positioning, relevant messaging angles, stronger offer alignment, focused outreach, and inbound pipeline foundations. And only after the START method should you then start activating the idea of the phases brand authority system as mentioned, right? But it's important to lay the foundations down before you even get into the process of doing what you're doing, right? So remember, market fit creates relevance, authority creates preference, and pipeline creates revenue. So that is it. That is it for this video. I hope that it was incredibly useful, right? Because honestly speaking, I was going through the process in real time and I found it really difficult in the early stages of establishing who my ICP is or my niche, right? But then when I established the idea of building, it made it a lot more easier. And then as a result, I said that I needed to develop the START method as something that I can showcase and share with you, but then also something that I can also document and build with my clients as well, if they are also looking to focus on establishing exactly who their ICP is or their particular niche that they're looking for. So I hope this video was useful. Again, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace out. Look after yourself.